Zanonde, Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Electro Ninja's Lab. In today's video, we are going to be talking about My Hero Academia, episode 103, which, this is a pretty big episode for My Hero Academia. This is primarily an episode devoted to setting things up for the war arc. We all know that in 4 months, things are going to hit the fan. Or things are supposed to hit the fan. In 3 months, however, things are actually going to hit the fan, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't know exact dates, but I know that it's going to be happening very soon. And, I don't know the dates off the top of my head very well. But, yeah. So, this episode goes pretty quickly. Mostly focusing on stuff with Hawks basically explaining the stuff to Endeavor through his notes, but also us getting to see a lot of things. Which I also have to applaud them for what they've done with the villain stuff, because the only faces that they actually showed clearly were those of the villains that we've already seen. Heavily. Now, obviously, we've seen the other ones in the opening, but it's pretty minor. Speaking of the opening, though, I do want to briefly mention that I will be doing an opening analysis before too long. I just need a little bit more time to actually piece together all of my thoughts on this opening. And I will also do an ED analysis as well. But I have to do this quickly because we don't want to switch over to the new one before... Yeah. There's like I said, there's a possibility that they're actually going to switch openings midway through this half. Basically, still keeping the same song, but changing the animation at the beginning to the animation at the beginning and at the end to basically make things move smoother for the actual arc. Basically, a good way to think about it is, currently, if you've seen the opening, swap the things with the heroes with the villains, and swap the things with the villains with the heroes, and that will make things look a lot better, I think, for that arc. So yeah, pretty much the chapter was self-explanatory. They didn't really have to go too in depth with anything, and pretty much we're done with this part. With, like, this is... Let me make sure that... Yeah. So, pretty much the next thing that we're going to be seeing in the anime, for if we were to actually go in this same order, is do 1 week later, and it's stuff about, well... actually having dinner at the Todoroki family, which is actually a pretty good chunk. Like, all of that is the Todoroki family dinner, with a few extra bits thrown in at the end, but pretty much just that is all for the Todoroki family dinner, and that is a big episode. One that is so big that I actually think that they actually have a chance to actually, to instead of putting this here, putting it at the end of the season once they actually do the villain arc. And like I've been saying for a while now, I actually really do think that we are going to be getting the villain arc. The only reason that we're getting these episodes, these past, 4 or 5 episodes, and we're having them now, is because the fact that this last part it doesn't feel right to put all of that villain stuff at that point for the anime. The fact is that we've been focusing so much on the kids that we need a good transitional period into that. Because remember, in the manga, if you guys have read it, it basically switched as soon as they were done with the basically some winter stuff after they had dealt with the whole chaos, with the whole battle situation. It went immediately into the villain arc, and it didn't have a very good transition, in my opinion. And on top of that, they didn't order it properly. You see, there is the whole Dentrant stuff, which is won't even take up an entire episode, honestly. But that whole part, that is not where it's supposed to be. That actually starts up the villain arc, but then we go back in time to before the fight between the Nomu and Endeavor, to dealing with that whole situation and basically what the villains were doing that entire time, going to go see to go face off against Gigantomachia, as well as them separating every now and again to go cause some mayhem. It's a pretty massive amount of stuff that's going on. Not to mention that we can actually place when exactly the second movie takes place. Like, it's happened now. If you guys have watched the anime, yeah, it just happened like a few days ago. Basically, a good thing to think about is basically between the moment that Bakugo and Todoroki got their licenses and the Christmas special, that's when it happened. Somewhere in there is where it happened. Which, I know, that is a very small amount of time. But in the episode format. But actually there, yeah, that was a huge part of everything that just happened. So, yeah. So, with that, let's actually talk about what I think is going to be happening from this point forward. As you guys should know, the next episode is actually going to be an anime-only episode, with focusing specifically on Uraraka and Sue's whole journey, because of the fact that, of course it does, Uraraka and Sue are like the two favorite female characters, and they hardly get any screen time, let alone page time. And there needs to be some stuff there. Please, for the love of just everything, please do more stuff with Uraraka. We need to know more about everything that's going on there. There's going to be so much stuff in that episode. But after that, more than likely, one of two things is going to happen. Firstly, we are going to be going into the first possibility is that we will be going into the Todoroki family dinner, which is just that one part. Or the other option is that after this anime-only episode, we then transition over to being in the villain arc, starting off very early, where it basically shows some clips about where exactly we are on the timeline, because we need that. The manga did not do that very well. It basically just said, before this thing, yeah, and transitioned over to that. We need a better transition, and I think that that is something that they are going to be doing. So, get the transition in, say all of this stuff that is really important that they need to lay out, and then with that taken care of, then they actually go into the villain arc, which is going to be a very big episode, or very big amount of the rest of the season, taking place all the way up until either the last episode or the episode before the last. The reason being that it would have to be the episode before the last is because of the fact that the Todoroki family dinner, I honestly think that that should be the last episode, because it's one of those really important episodes that really helps for the transition into the next season. But with that, I also want to bring up the episode afterwards. Basically, what is going to happen next season, the start of the next season. I've mentioned it before that I think that that episode should be the little, everyone's getting back together to have some fun, preparing for, the end of their first year. We get to see everyone working together, meeting up again, showing off their new costumes, showing off what they've done over the past while, and All Might training them, and oh my gosh, Kurogiri stuff. I've mentioned before that Kurogiri is one of the biggest problems, and that is actually why I want to bring up that. With Kurogiri's backstory coming up probably at the beginning of next season, that is something that we need to bring up. And it's actually a reasonable assumption to make that the Kurogiri stuff is going to be happening after, basically happening in the next season, because of just how massive it is. And basically, that episode, because of the fact that it's also going to be dealing with the training and basically everyone getting back together, that would actually work very well with just a few slight adjustments as a new season startup. A good way to reintroduce the characters, as it's basically exactly what we've seen for a lot of the anime-only episodes that have reintroduced our characters multiple times so far. Basically, since every season since season 1 has been, or since season 2 has been doing something like this, just using the content that they already have within the actual manga, it's going to save them a lot of time, and they can actually focus on actually doing a really good job for the war arc, especially because of the fact that the war arc is probably going to take up the most time of the next season. It's actually a pretty reasonable assumption that the war arc is going to be the entirety of that season. The only thing that could possibly be happening as well as it being, well, the Lone Wolf arc, which we don't know how long that is. We aren't even close to the end of that. So, I don't know, because the Lone Wolf arc is the last arc to deal with All for One, or at least it has a high chance of being the last one. So, as such, they have to be extremely careful with how they're going to do that. So, what then should they do? Well, to help them bide time and basically get more prepared for that actual arc, here's what they do. They focus only on vigilantes. Take a season, or take a year off to, instead of focusing on My Hero Academia, instead they focus on vigilantes. Getting that first season done as quickly as possible. Then, when it's finally time for season 2 to begin, they start up vigilantes a little bit beforehand with their second season, so that by the time that it gets to the Shirakumo stuff, that is when the next season of My Hero Academia starts. And everyone will be excited, because that is actually what many fans want to see. And on top of that, it's really hard to say for sure exactly where they're going to be going with the first season of Vigilantes. My guess, back when I first started thinking about this, was that the first season would only go to basically the stuff with with the Queen Bee whatever thingy, which I'm not going to get into because, yeah, we'll talk about that later. And then, after that, then we get into the stuff with Shirakumo at the end of the second season. I'm honestly uncertain if that's exactly what they're going to do, but there's actually a pretty good chance, based off of what we've seen so far, that what they're actually going to do is go through the first season, and it basically has a whole, everything that happens up until the Shirakumo stuff. And the Shirakumo stuff is the start of the second season, introducing the characters back to us, but first having us get introduced to Shirakumo and everything that's going on with that, so that they can actually get us prepared for the chaos that is going to hurt so many people when it finally happens in the anime. Seriously, that part is a really, it tugs at your heartstrings. It is going to probably make people cry. So, I try to avoid talking too much about that, but seriously, it is devastating what happens in that arc with Kurogiri and Shirakumo. So, having vigilantes do all of that just before My Hero Academia starts up again, it's going to be, well, something that a lot of fans will be really excited for. And with that, once that's all taken care of, we can then transition into the final, well, possibly final season, starting with the war arc and basically everything that happens in the second half of the first, well, this volume 26, going all the way until the war arc is done, which is like volume 30, I believe. Then Lone Wolf arc happens, and yeah, we don't know exactly what's going to happen with Lone Wolf, because that is, whatever that is, that's probably going to be the last season of My Hero Academia, at least for this first major arc. We, like I said, we have no idea what's going to happen, because this could be a transition of something completely new, no longer focusing on the chaos that was All for One, but instead allowing Koichi, or Kohi Horikoshi, to actually start thinking, oh, what am I going to do moving forward? How am I going to continue this story? Because the big bad is over with and done. But this isn't the end for Deku. The fact is that Deku still has a lot of learning to do. Even if he does defeat All for One at the end of the Lone Wolf arc, he's not quite ready for what's to come next. And I think that he needs to have those next 2 years as basically a moment to calm down a bit. Let him recover. But it also would be really fun to still get to see how that happened. Because the other fact is that there are still going, even after all of this is done with and All for One is taken down, there's still going to be villains out there who are going to be causing trouble. And the fact is that more than likely, these villains are going to be wanting to go for Deku's head because, well, he's the number one hero now. Even though he will have become the number one hero, he's still a kid. As such, people are going to be going for his head as soon as possible because they don't know what he's able to do. And as such, it would give us, the audience, a chance to see more from the rest of the students as they start to show Deku what they can do. And Deku basically takes a back seat because of the fact that he has done so much at this point that he needs to learn more about how to rely on his fellow students. Because if he doesn't, yeah, he's going to cause a lot of trouble moving forward. The fact is that he's been going ham so much in the past arc. It's insane. And I know that the next chapter is going to be talking about that, but still, we need some stuff to calm him down after all of this stuff. So, I don't know. Lone Wolf arc is really complicated, and like I said, it's going right now. It's not even out here in America. It's only in Japan right now. So, yeah, we'll talk about that as things continue. And also look forward to tomorrow, because that's going to be continuing that, as well as also Hunter's Guild, Red Hood. Seriously, if people who are watching my videos, if you watch my videos on the regular, you'll probably like Red Hood, and the reason that I'm bringing this up right now instead of waiting until next episode, waiting until tomorrow, is because tomorrow is going to be the start of the last week where you're going to be able to read everything. So seriously, if you guys want to read Red Hood, go over to Viz right now and start reading it. You're not going to need to subscribe. You just can read it free. This is the time to do it. And since next week, in 1 week, it's no longer going to, the first episode isn't, or the first chapter is no longer going to be available for a while. I mean, probably it will come back before too long, but the fact is that very rarely are we actually going to be able to see this stuff. And more than likely, it's not going to be coming out until the first entire volume is out here in America. So, yeah. And then you'll be able to read these first 3 chapters for free. But still, go read them. Yeah. Seriously, go read that. that video will be coming out later today, so, or tomorrow, I guess, because, yeah. Anyways, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and ring that notification bell. And even if you're not new, but you just haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, because there's only about 25% of you who are actually subscribed. So, please subscribe. Yeah. And, of course, if you guys have any thoughts or theories, please leave them down in the comments below. If you guys are going to leave a theory, make sure to say theory review somewhere in a comment, and we will do a video about it at some point. Also, I do want to briefly bring up some other things. If you guys have any questions, I would love to actually answer them. I've actually, pretty much everything that you guys send in to me in the comments, I read. If I know how to respond to it at that point, I will respond to it immediately. If not, I will start looking into it a little bit more, and then I will make a video about it at some point in the future. In fact, someone actually asked me a little while ago, actually I think a few days ago, basically what exactly is going to be going on with Shirakumo and Kurogiri. And I'm actually going to be doing a bit of an analysis of that before the actual, that whole thing starts to happen. If we get, it's not going to be next episode, but if for some reason it's announced that that episode is going to be happening this season, I'm going to be doing a video on that. Also, if My Hero Academia Vigilantes is not announced by the end of the season, I'm also going to be doing a video at the end of the season to basically explain Kurogiri and Shirakumo. Not exactly certain on exact details yet, but it is coming. Don't worry, we will be talking about Kurogiri and Shirakumo because that's an important aspect. So, yeah. Anyways, guys, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Like I said, all that stuff. Of course, make sure to, if you guys want to support the channel even more, then definitely head down to the description, check out all of our links down there, including our social medias, our other channels, and ways that you can support us financially, including the merch store, which, speaking of which, I will be showing you guys some of the merch very soon, actually in person, so you'll get to see it very soon. Not much of it, but still some of it, so you'll get to see it soon. Of course, the book and our Patreon, all of which, like I said, are down in the description. And a big thank you to our current patron, Sheeny. But anyways, guys, I've been Electric Ninja, and I will see you guys next time. But on!